Please stand as you're able and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting for the School Town of Speedway for Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. We are working from a 15-item agenda, and the first item is to approve the minutes of the August 8th meeting.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of the August 8th, 2023 meeting.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Passes 4-0.
And the minutes are signed.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a report on the Advanced Placement Program.
Good evening. As always, it's an honor to stand before the board and this community to discuss Speedway High School unprecedented academic achievement through the College Board's Advancement Placement Program. This evening, I don't want to simply just give you the highlights and the tidbits from the packets that are readily accessible to you, but I wanted to kind of tie everything in and kind of show how we've come full circle over the years. As an administrator, I've always asked the internal question, each AP testing cycle, is this bold initiative that we call open access for an AP program, have we plateaued? Is it too bold of an initiative? And I think the answer is a resounding no. As you know, we were just recently named one of the top public schools in the state of Indiana by the News and World Report, and Mr. Claiborne will speak in greater detail about that great accolade. But one of the metrics that were used for the best high school in the nation and in the state of Indiana is a college readiness metrics. And that college readiness metrics is the methodology that they use is 30% of how they determine which schools are the best schools in the state of Indiana. And I can quote what they have as one of those metrics. It says the proportion of 12th graders who took and earned a qualifying score on at least one AP or IB exam. Earning a qualifying score is worth 3 times more than just taking. And as you can see in your packet, we've had over 92% of our student body enrolled in at least one AP course. And I don't know how many schools across the nation would be able to tout those types of numbers, but not only did we have 92% of our student body take an AP exam, we also had in the class of 2023, over 51%, 52% of that cohort earn a qualifying score. And so when you look at those types of numbers, you think, wow, okay, we're really challenging our students. We're asking them to rigor up. But that does not happen without the support of our teachers, this community, our board, and our district leadership, and this entire school community. Just again, to give you some other context of another metrics that we will be winning or receiving soon will be the AP Honor Honor Roll. The AP Honor Roll. To earn that metrics, the AP District Honor Roll, you have to increase AP access to underrepresented groups while also making sure that you maintain percentages of underrepresented groups earning a 3 or 4 or 5 on the AP exam. So I must say that we have reached that, and again, when we look at our total student body, when we say 52% of that student body, that is across our demographic. That is African American students, that is Asian students, white students, our socioeconomic students that are on free and reduced lunch. So we have a range of students that are reaching this metric. And so this happens not only with hard work from all that involved, really a dedication from our students as well, to know that they will be supported when they rigor up, that we won't leave them to just drown in those waters. Now, obviously, not everyone earns a qualifying score, and the data also shows that by just simply taking an AP course, you're better prepared for once you finish high school. And I don't want to say just better prepared for college, because I really believe that our AP program prepares our students for whatever they may pursue after they graduate high school, whether that is cosmetology, whether that is becoming a welder, whether that is joining our armed forces, or going to a four-year institution. We want them to be better writers, better thinkers, better analysts. And I just can't thank this board enough for investing in our young people. And we're coming full circle after all of these years and seeing what this program has become. So I won't continue to talk and read to you what is on the packets that you have received, but I do want to open it up to any questions that you may have or comments that you may have.
I've got a comment. I don't know how many years ago it was.
It's been a lot of years.
You probably have notes somewhere. But in the past, at least on 2 separate occasions, I know that I really pushed at you in this spot right here, and it was you, giving us these reports about us not getting so caught up in just adding students, but that I expected to see, and that I thought I spoke for others, that we expected to see the corresponding increase in passing, in underrepresented groups passing. And it makes me a little emotional that you guys have done that. And I'm just blown away. And, every year I say, I'm just so blown away that your numbers got better. Can't believe they could get better, and they got better. And that is true. But this piece of that, I don't know that people, really understand unless you're thinking about it in these terms, that it isn't just adding students. So access doesn't just mean let's get a bunch of bodies signed up so we can tout, look how many people are taking AP classes. But I see you every year reporting, these improvements. And one time in there when it was kind of like, it doesn't seem like it grew that much. Doesn't seem like these other things we're talking about. The very next year, you guys made change. You looked at that. You figured that out. You started tracking that differently. I mean, everything that the high school has done has been mind-blowing in terms of, the work that is done in this regard. I seriously, it makes me emotional because it's something that's super important to me, not just that we have more bodies taking AP classes. I've come and talked to you guys about, other things, should we be doing this? And you always have an answer, always look it through, always run what is best, the calculations of what is best for our students. And so I cannot thank you enough. Nor, there is no ability, if I had prepared some nice speech right now, which I did not do, but there is no ability to give you guys enough credit. And so it's just amazing. And I really, really, community, want you to know that and understand that we're not just talking about, some simple things or some things that just happen by chance, or this is an absolutely well-orchestrated plan, system, and school districts across the state are taking notice of what we're doing. And it's unbelievable. If it could be replicated, it would be. And and we are doing something that is so special. This is not something that, other schools are just making happen. You guys really, really have something special going on.
Thank you. I appreciate those words. just to kind of piggyback on that, you know, I was here when we were initiating some of these programs, and just to be able to walk past our classrooms and see that in whether it's our STEM classes, AP Calculus, or you know, an AP Chemistry class, it is a representation of our student body. It's not just a certain group of students that are taking these types of classes. It's not just a certain group of students that are passing these classes. It's truly a reflection of our diverse demographic at our high school. And that's one of the more proud moments.
It's amazing.
Anything else? Well, thank you very, very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Very, very.
Item number 3 is a report on the U.S. News and World Report.
Well, as Mr. Borum said, I'm of course honored to be asked to come and report to you guys again today. It is very good news. The U.S. News and World Report named us the number 3 high school overall in Indiana, and the number 1 public high school. If you look through some of the metrics they use to determine that, our 99% graduation rate, the college readiness that Mr. Borum just talked about, and I was at the football game Friday, and it was at Marion. We had a student who's there, and he was showing his grades on his phone. He's a sophomore there, and said, "I'm getting better grades in college than I ever got in high school." I got to give it to you. There is something to that college readiness. Obviously, that's a one-off, but I don't think it's totally unique in what our students experience. When you look at the state assessment performance ranking, which is how the U.S. News and World Report tries to calculate what a what a school should do, where they should accomplish based on their demographics. Again, we're at the top of the state in that one too, ranked number 4. When I was started here and could kind of already see that really amazing things were happening, one of the things I did when we got a 4-star ranking was to stack the students that have unique barriers to learning. And they're listed here with the English learners, minority, free reduced lunch. If you stack those together and really get an idea of how those compare to the other students that are in the same, the other school that's in the same tier as us, it really stands out that we are doing, as Mr. Gay said, really uncommon things with really a great slice of the demographics that you see when you travel through Indiana. It's a very diverse group that achieves at an uncommon level. I know you gave credit to Mr. Borum earlier, and the truth is there's enough credit to go around our school, our district, and our community 2-3 times because everybody plays a part in the success, and it's, you know, I can't wait to see as these students go to college, get jobs, and want to come back to Speedway, how they continue to give back to the community and really keep this kind of flywheel going.
Tom?
Yeah, to kind of dovetail on what both Laura and you said, JP, I was thinking today there's an awful lot of components that have to come together for this to happen. And one is we have to have leadership from central office. We have to have leadership from our school administrators. Obviously, it's the teacher in the classroom, most important part of the instructional part of us getting where we have academically. But also we have to have a community of parents who value education and encourage their kids to be at school and be there on time. That wouldn't happen if we didn't have that component of all this. Obviously, the students are doing the work. And I know a couple years ago we did a book study on the book Grit, and it said if you take 1 or 2 AP classes, your chance of graduating from college goes up 66%, whether you get a qualifying score or not. But as Laura mentioned, and as you all realize, you know, we like 3, 4s, and 5s, but the 1 and 2s, I've had 2 different teachers tell me in the last week that the 1 and 2s are working harder in that class than they'd be working if they took a lower level class, didn't have to do the thinking they're doing. And so the students are doing the work, and as you just mentioned, the community too, and I think of groups like the Chamber of Commerce and the Lions Club and scholarships for Speedway. Our community and the referendum as a result of that has bought into the results that all these things put together allow us to do. And, you know, it's not like we have to be number one every year. It'd be great. But when this happens, it kind of makes all of us realize that there's a whole bunch of pieces of this puzzle that have to fit together for it to work. And in this community right now, that's working, and it's a credit to all those groups I just mentioned. Thank you. Thank both of you back there as well, and your staffs. But it's all teachers. It isn't just the ones at the high school. The ones that had them at junior high school and so on have been an important part of getting kids that you get as freshmen that know what's expected of them in a classroom. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is a report on drug testing.
Good evening. Excuse me. I'm Nathan Day, Assistant Principal, and pleasure to be able to be here this evening with you and speak on this topic and answer any questions we can. Obviously not as exciting as the AP and report, but it is part of the school life and working with young people and so forth. So in your packet is the drug testing numbers from the prior school year, and I think there's a lot of components to consider when we're looking at data. Obviously, it can tell a number of stories, but I think I would be remiss if, while we've moved past COVID, some of the things that happened to students and families and communities during COVID, where behaviors and things that might not otherwise have developed. We know the stress of mental health that people have talked about, and as we moved out of COVID, post-COVID, but there's some factors I think to consider as we look at drug testing of students. I'd say one is the massive increase of access to items that are related to drug testing, things that we would look for. One of them that is very prevalent, obviously, is the vaping devices. And so we have a lot of increase in access. You see that in many schools. It's not uncommon to see a news report on a weekly basis, at least, of schools that are addressing this issue. But we also have a large increase of students who are in the pool. And so nearly the entire high school is now part of the testing pool. So we have an increase in a number of students. We have an increase in access, and we've seen an increase in student use. And so I went to a couple of conferences this summer, and the numbers are really pretty staggering, and the impact. And so, I think it's a wonderful thing we do for our students. One, it gives our students an opportunity and a reason to say, I can't participate in that type of extracurricular activity because I'm very involved in my school, and it gives them a great way to say no to those type of opportunities. I can tell you, being part of the testing process and then meeting with students and parents, while it's not a desirable topic, there is oftentimes relief from the parent to know they have information that they can work from and that we're there to support their child through the process. And so a lot of our protocol, as you likely well know, is not about removing students from school, but giving them support and assistance they need at the student level or the family level to ensure we're having a safe school. So as you look down through the numbers there, I don't know if you have any specific questions regarding the data from last year or the process that we go through, but happy to answer any questions that I'm able to do so. Mr. Smith?
Not really a question, but a statement. I think we started drug testing in the 1990s, late 1990s sometime, and I'm pretty sure we were the first school in Marion County to do that. But the purpose then was, as is now, not to catch people, but to give people a reason to say no. The method you're using now is by swab, right?
Correct.
which is much more efficient than the original method, which was urine samples, and sometimes it'd take 3 hours to get a urine sample from a kid. So kudos to finding a more efficient way to do it. I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know whether it's anybody along the line has done it. Do we ever send parents positive results? And by positive results, I mean your child was tested and they tested negative. Do we let parents know that kids have been tested, or are they just tested and?
Yeah, so we do not, but we let students know that they can have access to the results if they have any questions or are curious about it. So Ms. Allison, who runs that process, makes that available to them, but they know if they don't hear from us that they had a negative.
Now, that's all. I know you've talked to kids about this, because I'm sure every principal, I'm sure when you were a principal you did too, the randomness of it. I'm sure you have kids that say, I've been picked 3 times and Joe or Sally over here has never been chosen. But that's what random is.
Right.
You're in the lineup every time everybody's name's in there, and some get chosen 3 times and some never do get chosen. But kudos to, I'm glad to see the information of how many and results, obviously without names, but keep doing it.
One of the things I'll add too that I believe you have this in your packet is that we've added a vaping diversion program this year for the nicotine-related offenses. And the goal there really is to help educate students. So I did a little research this summer, and the American Lung Association has an in-depth, what's called in-depth, which is an education for students, for us to work with students about educating them. And as you can imagine, with working with young people, there's a lot of things they don't know, and they assume that they know, but they don't really even know what the contents are in these devices. They don't really know the chemicals they're ingesting. And so our goal there is to provide another opportunity to educate the child, to work with them, to get them moving away from these type of products. And so we have implemented that strategy to see how that works with our students while still holding them accountable for school consequences. We're also adding the educational component to try to get them to understand the impact of the decisions they're making, not just really for just the short term, but long-term health effects that they don't realize at 15 years old what it's like to be 55. And so so that's something we've added to try to help improve our effectiveness with this program.
And that's new this year?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Day. Item number 5 is a junior high field trip ban to the elementary schools.
Thank you, Mr. President. My recommendation is to approve the junior high band and the choir. Teacher Amy Cronin. We did this a few years ago to go around to each 4 of the elementary schools to present and show what band and choir is about. This will be done on March 21st, 2024, pending buses to take our kids around, because that's always a problem during this time of year. But to get this approved, we can start working on Miller Transportation and try to get the right transportation to get the kids around to all 4 elementaries. So this is kind of a routine, but I believe in the last few years it's been in trouble because we didn't get it approved. I would say we didn't get it approved. I didn't mean it that way. It was just that we waited a little too long to get the busing lined up. So my recommendation is approve this field trip, which is within Speedway boundaries.
I'll move that we approve the junior high field trip for band and choir to our elementary schools.
Thank you.
I'll second. Go ahead. No, I'll second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of approving the junior high field trip for the band and choir to the elementary schools, please indicate by raising your hand. Passes 4-0. Item number 6 is a report on our summer parks programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to be here. I have told Dr. Trebley in the past that I wanted to come personally thank the board for the partnership that the Parks Department has with the school town of Speedway. And one thing that has struck me this evening is I feel really blessed in my job and the people that I work with. I always think what a great team effort that we have. And it struck me this evening that that's how you guys have it as well, with all of the accolades coming on, all the school staff and community. We're all a big team. And I also feel like I'm a team member with the schools as well. We partner so much. When I go to Parks and Rec conferences and talk to other departments around the whole state, they're actually quite jealous of the partnership that I have with our schools. Most of them say that their schools won't give them the time of day. There are very few departments that actually partner with their schools. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The handout I gave you, I want to actually thank Mr. Chuck Bennett for a lot of the historical information I'm going to mention this evening, as well as this spreadsheet. He has been keeping numbers since 2004. He actually started, he kind of ran the summer programs, so it's been 20 years. And he explained to me that historically, he ran all of them. The Parks Department, the town used to have a budget for camps, and they did away with that. I want to say he said maybe around 2015, something along those lines. And that's when Mr. Hall stepped up and made a suggestion for the schools to subsidize these if the Parks Department would kind of administrate it and facilitate it, with the caveat that the Parks Department would be paying the school coaches and students to actually help run these programs. It's been a wonderful experience and a great opportunity for our community and the students of Speedway. I have 2 children myself. Both are grown, both high school graduates of Speedway. So I've gone through the process from the time they were elementary to graduating, and I know what a great school system that we have. If you kind of go through the timeline here, you'll notice that we might have had some programs before that we no longer have, but we also have added programs. And some of that is dictated by the numbers. For example, kickball used to be super popular, especially when my kids were little. That was like everybody wanted to play kickball. But if you come along, you notice the numbers just really started dwindling. And by the last looks like 2017 to 2014, they were split up into 2 different groups. You had the smaller kids, like grades kindergarten through, I think, maybe 3rd grade, and then 4th through 6th or maybe even 8th grade. Those got so low that they couldn't really play without the high school kids actually helping play. You know, they had to be some of those bodies. So it just made sense that we had to cut that program, unfortunately. But we also added more. We added, when Mr. Owens was here, he did the STEM and the robotics, and that was quite popular. This year, we added speed and agility. The coach, Nyland, I believe, is the one that does that with weightlifting, and that was very popular for its first year, and we had a lot of good feedback on that one. In addition to the summer camps that we participate with the schools staffing, we've added a few other summer programs. I've added one that I actually teach called Speedway Unplugged, and it is a program that combines basic life skills with effective communication. So we did things like each day there was a different subject. This year we had bicycle maintenance, we had gardening. They learned about microgreens, and they each got to take their own container and grow microgreens. They got to do a cooking element and a sewing element. In the course of that, I'm sure you know the 100th anniversary is coming up, and there's a committee about that who happened to meet the week of our camp. So these kids actually got to present their own ideas of what they thought would be neat to implement for the 100th anniversary. So that was a neat opportunity for them to speak to this big committee, and they did a wonderful job. Mark Smallwood is a gentleman who runs the Horseshoe League here in Speedway. Little bit fact, Speedway Leonard Park has the only sanctioned horseshoe pit in Marion County, so that's kind of cool. But he has offered to do cornhole and horseshoe camp the last couple years for us. We have a smaller number on that, but the kids really seem to enjoy it, and when they do it, they usually stick with it, and they continue not just doing camps, but they come to his other league play as well. And that's something that the parents can join them with. So often, these numbers here reflect the kids' numbers, but our actual registration also had adults participating. We also have a junior running club that is run by the running club members, the Speedway running club members. They do that. They volunteer their time and run that program all summer long. And that's been a popular one as well. In addition to our summer camps, the Parks Department also, with the partnership of the schools, offers a rec league, a basketball rec league, which our registrations are now open for that. The 5th, 6th grade boys is a strictly parent-run, and the girls, they're parent-run programs. Parks, again, facilitates it and administers, does the administration side of things, but we need parents to step up and actually be the coaches and run the timing boards and keep the score. If we didn't have that parent involvement, we would not be able to have that program. Again, it's a team effort. And this year, for the first time, we also did a volleyball spring camp, and that was super popular. We actually filled it up. We had to turn some people away for the first year. So in closing there, the annual participation, it kind of shows amongst the summer camps as well as our additional programming, the amount of participation that we see on an annual basis. For 2023, we're at 540, and we're just now starting our winter league. So there's a lot of opportunities for the kids in Speedway to not only do things extracurricular through the schools, but also through the Parks Department. We also have other kid-friendly events, the Trunk or Treat, which again, thank you. We utilize the school teachers' lot for that. That's been very popular. Last year, we saw close to 700. The year before that, we had over 800 people that came to that event. On Main Street, we have Light the Night on Main. Both junior high and high school choirs come and sing at that event. And a lot of the local groups and businesses offer free crafts and fun things for the kids to do. Last year, we had a little trackless train. We are going to have that again this year as well. We do close off 2 blocks of Main Street for that event. We do some other periodic things throughout the year that come up. And some ideas moving forward. One thing I want to do for this upcoming year, we have a market in Meadowood, and I would love to implement a youth entrepreneur day on one of those markets. Kind of get the information out there if there's kids that do crafts or maybe they're little artists or something, they might want to come and set up, and we'll have an actual entrepreneur day, promote it, and people can come and purchase off the kids. But that's kind of a highlight of the parks and our partnership with the schools. And again, thank you. I have 2 questions for you. The first, thank you very much, and this is wonderful. And similarly, my children participated as kids, participated as high school students who worked with Mr. Bennett at the time. And so I feel very fondly about this program from the past and love what it's doing going forward. One question I have is, how do people learn when a program is upcoming? Is that advertised? Is that in the, how, if I'm just a parent who's got a kid in elementary school, how would I know about these various sign-up dates?
We do post on the Parks Facebook page, but more than that, we always do a flyer, and I take those to school administration, and those go out to all the elementary schools. As a matter of fact, the flyers for our basketball program just went up there today. And I also requested they be pushed out on Parent Square, which Dr. Trebley emailed me that would happen. And when I know enough ahead of time when we could get it into the town talk, I do put things in that. Sometimes I don't know, since they're only a monthly publication, sometimes I don't hit those deadlines. in time to get them in there. But then the town shares it, and we get a lot of people that do share that information out there. But specifically, again, that partnership with the schools, being able to get flyers up for the schools to pass out.
I love that answer. I was really hoping you didn't say, oh, it's on Facebook. So that
It is on Facebook, but
Yes.
we try to do a lot more
Yes.
ways of communicating.
Second question is, all these programs cost something,
Yes.
I assume. And is that, I guess, kind of a two-part question, and one is, it used to be, at least, that the cost was, I never got the sense that, like, you guys are a money-making organization that's, doubling the price that it should, and blah, blah, and I assume that that's still the same?
That is the same, yes. We do charge a registration fee. It's very small. It's $25 for them to participate in our summer camps. Art camp is $30 because we do have to get art supplies. But with the schools subsidizing up to $15,000 for the summer camps, and I believe it's $7,000 for the swim lessons. That's another thing, we offer the free swim lessons. But we minus out the registration fees from our expenses, which our expenses are the staff salaries, any supplies we need, like art camp, the Speedway Unplugged has a few supplies. And then whatever that difference is, I invoice the school, which I'm working on that, by the way. You'll be getting it before I leave today. And so, for example, the one I just did, I just finished the camp one before I came down here, and I'll be invoicing the school for about $10,000, less than $100. So I'm still well away from that $15,000 mark. So we try to be good stewards of that. We try to zero that out. We do not make a penny off of these programs. The programs are expensive to run. For the total program, I want to say it was like maybe $25,000 with expenses, supplies, all that. And none of that includes my salary. That's just the staff that we have, the students and the teachers. But yes, we do zero that out. We do not make anything off of that.
I appreciate that good stewardship a lot. What if I'm a parent who $25 is going to stretch me? Is there a scholarship system? Is there a way that?
We do have an opportunity. It's not consistent, but when there are people who come to me, and I actually rely on the school a lot. I work with a lot of the different administrators who know that, and they'll come to me and say, hey, we've got these students that would qualify for this. Do you have any money to be able to do that? And we have it because of a generous donation from a Mr. Jim Robinson, who is a Speedway resident, I believe, but he is very generous and gives me a donation every year, and specifically to be used for students who are unable to pay for these camps. And that would include the basketball league as well, any of the parks programs that we do when we partner with the schools.
That's wonderful, thanks. And that, that can be a motivator for other people in the community who are looking for ways that they can be of assistance.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
we're always looking for volunteers, not just during the programs, but all of my parks events, hurting for volunteers. So anybody interested in helping out, we would love to have you. Like I said, we've got Trunk or Treat coming up, we've got Light the Night coming up, and would love volunteers.
Thanks a lot.
Tammy, thank you.
Yeah.
You do a great job, and it's another component I should have mentioned earlier in the success of our town and our schools.
Yes,
I think,
it is.
is the park program.
Yeah,
You read my mind.
So thank you very much.
yeah, thank you guys. I'm so glad that I could personally finally come, and thank you all for your generosity for us to be able to offer this to the community.
Tammy,
And go beyond 20 years. We're at 20 years now.
as a person who's seen this, like Laura, that kids have grown up through it and gone through it, I think the success of this program has a lot to do with you. So thank you for what you've done with that. I've seen a great improvement, increase, and I don't think that goes without, great effort from you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I enjoy my job. I love it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is an update on the ISBA policies.
Mr. President and Board, this is the anti-bullying policy that was driven by legislation July 1st. We've been talking about this for 3 months now. It's been posted on our website for 2 months. It's gone through the ISBA. It's gone through Michelle Cooper, our board attorney, and with a lot of work from Ms. DeGay also. Thank you for that. We have a very good policy for the handbook, board policy, administrative guidelines. My recommendation is to approve that at this time.
What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the handbook section, the board policy section, and the administrative regulation section that are now totally consistent with each other and up to date with the current status of the law.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve the anti-bullying handbook, bullying board policy, and bullying administrative guidance policies. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 8 is to approve alternative transportation.
In your packet is a document from a group called Hop, Skip, Drive. Hop, Skip, Drive is a company that will provide transportation for us for, this is for our students that are McKinney-Vento students, the students that qualify as homeless. But it doesn't have to be used for that. It can be used in some of our special needs and situations. I think the best thing about this memorandum of understanding is that there's no cost to start it. It's one of those things that we agree that we'll work with you, and if we don't ever use them, there's no cost. I will share with you that there are school districts in our area, Noblesville, Franklin, Westfield, Hamilton, Southeastern, Carmel, Brownsburg, to name a few that have used this group also. So it would be my recommendation that we approve this memorandum of understanding.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve a memorandum of understanding for transportation with Hop, Skip, Drive.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding with Hop, Skip, Drive, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, opposed? Passes 4-0.
Mr. President, can you dismiss the administration?
Yes. Our high school administrators have had a very long day, and I thank you very much for giving us some time here, but I don't want to take up any more of your time, so please feel free to leave at this time. You're certainly welcome to stay, but we understand that you've got a lot to do, so. And Tammy, of course, yes.
Okay.
Item number 9 is to present our 2023-2024 enrollment report.
In your packet is a most updated as of today enrollment in Speedway schools, and there's 1,757 students in Speedway schools today. Just a few things about our enrollment is that as of this writing, we have 50 sections of elementary classes, and I mentioned last time that's 2 more than we had last year. And with that, we have one elementary class with 27 students. We've even talked about that's getting up there, but there's no way that I could split that. That's with Mr. Burke, and no one would want that to happen. We have 23 students in one of our 5th grade class, 22 students in one of our 5th grade class, and 21 students in one of our 5th grade classes. And we have a total of 109 students in our 5th grade. It's one of the smallest classes we've had in a long time. Proud to report, because this is one of the things we talked about last year, proud to report that all of our classes in K through 4 have 19 or less students. Every classroom in Speedway schools in K through 4 have less than 19 students, and there's some of those that have 11, many of those that have 14 or 15. Our junior high has 284 students, and with core classes averaging about in the low 20s. Our highest class is a class of 2 classes of 30 in Algebra 1, and that's been that way since some old guy ran that place years ago, that it's usually those classes are the higher ability classes, and those high ability classes, and those get pretty packed. But there's about a low of about average 19 or 20 to 21 kids in those classes in the junior high, which is great. Our high school enrollment has the largest enrollment in the past 20 years at 568 students in the high school. The high school's class sizes in the core classes, math, science, social studies, and English vary from the lowest of 12 students in a class to the highest of 29. But the vast majority of our classes in the high school, the core academic classes, again, are in their low to mid-20s. So we have low numbers, which is a challenge with the budget for ADM, which comes up here in October. But we have a great situation for instruction going on in Speedway schools right now.
Are there any questions about the enrollment report or any comments? Okay. Item number 10 is to approve a Ameriflex plan renewal and the maximum deduction.
This is a routine matter. Last year, we upped the maximum to $2,750, and the recommendation is to approve $2,750 for employees for a flexible spending account and $5,000 for a dependent care account.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the Ameriflex plan renewal maximum deduction as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the Ameriflex plan renewal and maximum deduction, please indicate by raising your hand. Opposed? Item number 11 is to review the high ability plan.
Good evening. Andrea McIntosh, Director of Programs and Grants here for the school district. One of those programs is our High Ability Program. So I stand before you once a year and present our district high ability plan and try to highlight any proposed changes for your approval. Once this plan is approved, the updated version goes on our website. For any parents watching, the high ability district plan in full can always be viewed on our website. And any data that I reference, we're happy to share at any point, but it's about an 11 or 12 page document, and there's some routine changes every year. We have an annual broad-based planning committee meeting related to high ability, where we invite some parents and have school administrators and teachers who are invested in high ability come together and take a look at this plan and talk about proposed changes. We always review identification data and just try to make sure that we're doing our due diligence in identifying students with high ability. Some charts that we reviewed in that meeting are here for your perusal. We have a chart broken down by gender and just our overall numbers of students who are identified, and also a chart that represents our race and ethnicity breakdown of high ability students. So we examine that every year. And then we take a look at our actual high ability plan. And many of the changes, I've put in blue anything that our committee proposed to change. Most of those are routine. We make sure that the assessments that we're giving for high ability identification align to what we're using in the district that year. There's always date changes. The most significant change I wanted to highlight for you is under the goals section on page 3. When our broad-based planning committee reviewed our goals, many of them we've refined over the years and felt like all of those were still important, but we talked about, actually one of the parents who attended, I believe, is the one who suggested that we add a goal to point out that we do look at our identification breakdown and we do make sure that we're monitoring how we're identifying students and that our identified students are representing our student population the best we can. And since that's something we talk about every year, the parent suggested, shouldn't that be a goal to recognize that we do that? So that was why we proposed adding that goal there. Additionally, part of the goal of that broad-based planning committee is to evaluate our program. And just a year ago, the Department of Education released a rubric to assist broad-based planning committees with evaluating your high-ability program. So we went through that rubric rather quickly. There are a lot of components, but we could spend a whole lot of time going through that, and I'd be happy to with any of you if you'd like to go through every rubric component. So I just wanted to point out an area that the committee ranked us high on, and that one that was an area for improvement. So our highest scores were in the area of a multifaceted identification process. The broad-based planning committee reviewed all of the components under the identification rubric and scored us 4s, which was the highest score across the board on that. And that just recognizes that we're following state recommendations and guidelines on using multiple measures for identification, screening all students in certain grade levels instead of relying on recommendations from just teachers or parents, and doing that identification in a blind manner, meaning we remove student names when we're looking at scores, and it's really, removing subjectivity as much as we can. So that was a highlight of our plan. An area for improvement, there was one indicator, and I listed the exact language here in my notes for you, but there was an indicator that said parents of high ability students are provided with learning opportunities about the characteristics and needs of high ability students. That was an area we ranked low. I've not done much in the realm of parent, of notifying parents about those unique characteristics that their high ability children may possess. And so parent education is an area for improvement that I'll be working on this year, and hopefully next year our score on that rubric will increase. So those are some highlights. Again, this probably looks pretty similar to what you've seen in the past, but important pieces that we do take a look at each year. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I really appreciate, I know because I can, similarly to earlier this evening, I can say that every year I ask you questions about closing that gap. And I just really appreciate this specific, not just the, and I won't say that it's ever just been lip service, but it has been anecdotal. And while I've always trusted in the anecdote, I really value seeing specific in writing, here it is, and I think that's great. And so I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all of your support of all of our kids, but I think we've heard over and over tonight, we're proud of what we do for all students, and our high ability students are no different. So we just want to make sure that we're continuing to push forward and challenging our students as much as we can. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you can go.
And of course, Ms. McIntosh, you're also welcome to leave whenever you would like. So thank you. We know it's a long day. And number 12 is an acknowledgement of grants received, and we'd like to acknowledge a total of $319,082.82. Item number 13 is to approve the personnel report.
This evening, there's 11 items on the personnel report. First is resignations, 3 of those. Christy Whitehurst, who worked in our cafeteria as a 6-hour employee in Newby, has submitted her letter of resignation. Katie Payton has resigned as 9th grade softball coach, and John Dal Corobo has resigned as the head golf coach at Speedway High School. Under long-term substitute, we're grateful to have the services of Patty Bach, who continues to help our organization. Under employment, Katie Payton is being recommended as the head softball coach at Speedway High School. Renaya Leachman is a 6-hour cafeteria employee, and she's going to be working at Newby Elementary. Margaret Hoffmeister, cafeteria employee, 4-hour at Speedway High School. Kristen Smith, 7th grade girls basketball coach at the junior high school. Alexander McCool, ninth grade boys basketball coach at Speedway High School, and Cindy Mulcahy for special projects. And then there's one volunteer coach, and that is Billy Jarrett, who will be working with the volleyball team at Speedway High School. My recommendation is to approve the personnel report as presented.
I'll move we approve the personnel report as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the personnel report? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the personnel report as presented, indicate by raising your hand. Opposed? It's 4-0. Item number 14 is recognition of visitors and other business. Any other business from the board?
No.
Thanks. Okay. And item number 15 is to approve claims, so we will adjourn at this time. Thank you very much for coming.